Another example of how prevalent gun violence is here in this country. A 16-year-old has opened fire at Evergreen High School in Colorado Wednesday, less than an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot in Utah. And the suspect was a student at the high school. His name was Desmond Hawley, who, according to authorities, had been radicalized by an extremist network. So Jackie Kelly is a spokesperson for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and they didn't go into details about what the network was, this extremist network that he was radicalized by, or what it did. But she did say, we want to at least give you that much, maybe, about the mindset for him. So, that can really mean anything. It's not a whole lot of insight. According to the Denver Post, they discovered social media accounts that appeared to be linked to Hawley. And they do show that he had an interest in mass shootings and also that he held anti-Semitic views. According to Kelly, Hawley came to school with a revolver handgun and, quote, quite a bit of ammunition. So Hawley roamed the campus searching for new targets as he shot out windows and lockers covering a huge area of the school. He would fire and reload, fire and reload, fire and reload. This went on and on. So 2 students were injured in the shooting, and as of yesterday afternoon, both are said to still be in critical condition. And as for Hawley, he died later Wednesday night due to self-inflicted injuries after he turned the gun on himself. So Jackie Kelly also went on to say, I have to believe that when you bring a gun to school and you continue to fire and reload, that you are on a mission. We're very, very grateful that there were not more injuries, but saddened that there were any. Of course, all of it is sad, I should say. Since the investigation is still ongoing, it is unclear what the motive was, but law enforcement has obtained warrants for the suspect's phone, home, and locker. It's not yet clear if the shooting was entirely targeted or random, but Kelly noted it could be a bit of both. She was not able to provide any information about how the suspect obtained the handgun or who owned it. And investigators are also working to interview many of the students who witnessed what happened to piece together how the school became the site of the 47th shooting that took place at a school in the United States so far this year, 24 of which were on college campuses and 23 on K-12 school grounds. So additionally, yesterday, multiple HBCUs were put on lockdown after receiving threats that were later deemed to not be credible. And over at UMass in Boston, some of the students had to be evacuated after reports of shots being fired. So Maz, we'll start with you. I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, gun violence is something that our country is talking quite a bit about right now in light of what happened with Charlie Kirk, but also the fact that there was a school shooting that same exact day, which really didn't get a whole lot of coverage. We're trying to talk about it here now on this show. I almost don't know what to say. Like, where do we go from here? It's kind of the same rigmarole that we go through every time. But in light of what happened with Charlie Kirk, it feels as though we're in different territory. Although that being said, I don't think that means necessarily that we're actually going to be moving towards more gun control or anything like that. So what are your thoughts, Maz?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head there. They're not going to move towards more gun control. I mean, we all, when Sandy Hook happened, we all thought, okay, that's it. They're going to do something, and they didn't do anything. And then it just kept going and going. Then you have, the church, the synagogue in Pittsburgh. You have the El Paso Walmart. You have the Uvalde. It goes on and on and on, and they don't do anything. You have Las Vegas. They don't do anything, and they just keep saying, it's not the guns. It's not the guns. It's everything else but the guns. And, when I was younger, we didn't have people bringing guns to school. You had a slingshot. So, somebody might hit somebody with a rock or something. But this is just ridiculous. And it's just completely out of control how you keep getting people like your Nancy Maces or your other members of Congress who keep trying to blame ideologies. They keep trying to blame some kind of wokeism or something. Even Donald Trump's speech talking about, the liberal left, the left wing, blaming the left wing about this. It's just incomprehensible. And meanwhile, they are, Donald Trump has lifted the protection of former, I think Kamala Harris and others. and he threatens them, and he talks about like shooting Liz Cheney, and he talks about all kinds of stuff. He made fun of Paul Pelosi when he got hit with that hammer. So it's, the unfortunate thing is that we could take clips of us talking about gun violence from the most previous, and then the most previous, and then just keep going backwards, and just keep running those in these shows, and it would be the same conversation we're having. Do something about it, and they're not doing anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Littleton, Colorado happened, and everybody thought, oh, this is going to change the conversation on guns in America. That was 1999, and since then, everything that Maz just talked about happened, right? I mean, you have from Newtown to Uvalde and everything in between, and those numbers that you threw at us, yes, those are incomprehensible. Forget K through 12; it just happens all the time. We see it all the time. This kid from Colorado, so it makes you think the same thing, that you can't help but think about Littleton. Evergreen, Colorado, actually, I'm really going to age myself now. That's where John Hinckley was from, and that's where the national media converged on Evergreen, Colorado, because he shot at Ronald Reagan and killed, I guess didn't really injured terribly James Brady and the others there. So it's an epidemic. We are a violent country, and we're a violent country with guns everywhere. Utah Valley University, they had open carry, right? So anybody could have had weapons on them, on that student body. This is a gun-obsessed, gun-crazed country. And people can talk about mental illness. There's mental illness everywhere in the world, but there aren't the liberal gun laws that we have in this country everywhere in the world, and that's why you're seeing what we're seeing, and there's no question about it. And will something happen about it? Not until people are not afraid of the gun lobby. And even with the weakened NRA, you still have people afraid, Democrats, I shouldn't say people, Democrats afraid to say in purple states, or to take the risk in red states and say we've got to do something about guns, because the polling on guns shows that any kind of restriction is actually amenable to most of the gun-toting part of this country. And yet they're afraid to do it. They're afraid to be labeled soft on crime. We'll get to that a little later, but it's a big problem, and it didn't start obviously yesterday. It didn't end in Evergreen, Colorado yesterday, and it's really devastating and disappointing to see where we are. And there's been progress, but very, very little.
Very, very little. And that's an excellent point that you brought up, Michael, because as you guys know, most of the time I'm in Texas, and Texas, everybody has this idea that we're all cowboys and cowgirls out there, and we just want to do whatever we want. And that is true to an extent. There are a lot of gun owners in Texas, right? It's kind of what we're known for. But even in Texas, or maybe especially in Texas, maybe
barbecue,
because
by the way, barbecue.
We have great barbecue in Texas. Yeah. Thank you. But even in Texas, maybe because we have so many gun owners in Texas, and because it is such a big part of our culture, we have a lot of Democrats own guns in Texas, by the way, so this isn't necessarily a left-right thing. But on both sides of the political aisle in Texas, there's overwhelming support for some kind of gun control, right? All Texans were hurting whenever the shooting happened at Uvalde, and we watched our governor do nothing about it and pretty much say that he was going to do nothing about it. We've heard things from our Senator Ted Cruz when he was asked a long time ago about what he was going to do about gun violence. He said he celebrated thoughts and prayers, and which was his way of saying, I'm not going to do anything about it, and thoughts and prayers should be enough for you people. And it just isn't, The gun violence conversation is transforming now in light of what happened to Charlie Kirk. There is a conversation around political violence as well that is starting to happen. And the fact that it's starting to happen is also very telling, right? Because this is not the first incident of political violence this country has seen. We have been dealing with political violence for a long, long time, especially recently, right? We've seen what's been happening with these ICE agents who are putting people into the backs of trucks and just carting them away to who knows where. We have seen what's been going on at Alligator Alcatraz. We see what's going on overseas in Gaza. We know that's an attack, a genocide that's being funded with our own tax dollars, right? All of this is happening. We see that Transgender people are being demonized. We see that the SCOTUS has just said that they can racially profile people and in their persecution of them. So
when people say, like, people come out, this is not who we are. This is absolutely who we are. This is who we are. Until we change it, this is who we are. So going off of what you're just saying, it's happening. It's happening. Political violence is not new. It didn't start yesterday. This is who we are.
And also, they keep talking about mental health, and I think the Department of Education just cut $1 billion that had been earmarked for mental health. So they're not even serious about that. Their solution is put a cop at the schools. That'll solve it. A good guy with a gun will stop a bad guy with a gun. Tell the people of Uvalde that.
Yeah, and I don't know where all these good guys with guns are, And even that never really made a whole lot of sense to me either, because like how quick are these good guys with the draw? Like after someone gets shot, there's no time. Like they have to be very, very vigilant all the time to prevent this violence. And at the end of the day, we have not seen a good guy with a gun stop a bad guy with a gun. I think it happened maybe one time that I can think of where it actually did happen. And that is nothing compared to how many times we have seen so much violence and so much death from gun violence in this country. So,
well, Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin, good guy with a gun, stopped a lot of bad guys with guns.
Leslie Nielsen,
just saying, yeah.
That is a reference.
It's a Naked Gun reference, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.